Hello everyone, today is 26th of December, now it's 9:30 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. And there are quite a few very significant developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment, although before I start let me notice that quite often I have second news updates and some other additional extra content on my Patreon and Boosty pages. And if you are looking for more news from Russia, more commentary, additional content basically, or if you like my work and want to support her in the long terms, I hope you will consider to join our communities on Patreon or Boosty. That will be great support for this project, of course. And also, dear friends, nowadays, of course, many channels are announcing their schedule due to Christmas, New Year celebrations. And, well, I can tell you that I only plan one day off on 1st of January, and that's about it. If no technical issues, then I will try to publish informative, useful updates on regular basis as I usually do. So that being said, let's go through some news now, and I will start with updates on some emergent situations that occur in recent days. First of all, this report from RT that it was according to ship owner, according to a company that owned ship that sank in Mediterranean, Russian vessel. This was a result of a terrorist attack. Let's go through this news. Terrorist attack is to blame for the sinking of Russian cargo ship Ursa Major in the Mediterranean Sea. Russian state shipping company Abaron Logistics announced on Wednesday their freighter went down in the waters between Spain and Algeria on Monday. Initial reports spoke of explosion in the engine room that caused the vessel to list sharply to their starboard. Spanish rescue ships recovered 14 crew members, but 2 are still missing. Abaron Logistics believes that on December 23rd, 2024, targeted terrorist attack was carried out on the Ursa Major vessel. The company said in a statement, according to surviving crew members, 3 successive explosions happened on board of the ship, which then began to take on water. And this morning I saw a report on one of the channels that as a result of preliminary investigations, there is a huge hole in a ship as a result of explosion. And so this company, owner of the ship, I guess has every reason to believe that it was a terrorist attack. No specifics here who was the organizer of this terrorist attack, but we can all have informed guess that most likely it was a Kiev regime with assistance probably from US and British secret services, or maybe secret services of other NATO member states. And well, I guess investigation will find out what had happened and who was involved there. It is highly probable, in my personal opinion, that crew member or crew members, bring on their board of the ship these explosive devices and detonated. 2 crew members are missing, right? That's interesting. Are they really missing, or they were taken by the Spanish rescue boats in secrecy, sort of, to provide them then some cover? Who knows? I don't know. Maybe ones that were involved in this terrorist attack are among surviving ones, but definitely you cannot walk into a vessel from outside and plant some explosive devices, right? It not happens that way. It's only crew members that can go in and out of their vessel, right? So I guess investigation will be conducted, thorough investigation, and we will find out soon details of this yet another terrorist attack of the Kiev regime. And this is not all. We have an update on yesterday's emergency situation in North Ossetia, Alania, in capital of North Ossetia, Alania, Vladikavkaz, where fire explosion happened, and then fire in a shopping mall, Alania Mall shopping mall, and we have update on this. According to local authorities, this was a drone strike, actually, that was conducted by Kiev regime. Although initially, for a number of hours yesterday early morning, reports were suggesting that it was a tragic accident, gas explosion, because of some renovation work on the top floor. But later on in the afternoon, this update was shared with public that actually it was a Kiev regime's terrorist attack conducted with a drone. So this news on RT says that an explosion at the shopping mall in the Russian city of Vladikavkaz, which is capital of North Ossetia Alania Autonomous Republic of the Russian Federation, of course, on Wednesday morning has been caused by a drone. The local government has stated, citing the defense ministry. Fixed-wing aircraft was shot down by Russian air defenses over the capital of North Ossetia. The head of the Southern Russian Republic, Sergei Minyailo, said on his Telegram account. He added that the CCTV cameras show an explosion outside of Alania Mall. Earlier in the day, the Russian military reported destruction of 59 Ukrainian drones in Kiev's latest barrage against Russia. 26 were shot down over the Bryansk region, which borders Ukraine. The report did not mention North Ossetia or any other Russian part in the Caucasus region. Defense ministry has yet to comment on Minyailo's statements. But I guess Minyailo, who is a former high-ranking Russian military, and now currently head of North Ossetia Alania Autonomous Republic, he has good enough connections, good enough information to know exactly what happened. So I guess this was a drone attack that killed at least one civilian, and several civilians were wounded. And also update, by the way, on a plane crash that happened in Kazakhstan yesterday, not far away from Aktau city. On internet, videos are circulating now with a fragment of the fuselage of the plane, which has a damage that appears to be somewhat similar to a damage that are caused when air defense missile with shrapnels are exploding next to a plane. You can see on your screen now this damage that occurred on this plane, right? And the rumors are circulating right now in Russian segment of internet that possibly plane was shut down by mistake or intentionally. I don't know if the regime has its terrorists in this part of the world also. Maybe they do, and they shut down this plane, or maybe it was a tragic accident when the plane was mistakenly identified as a incoming Ukrainian drone and was shut down. As I said, just rumors at this point. Of course, investigation will reveal what had actually happened. Unfortunately, as a result of this plane crash, majority of the passengers on the border, majority of the people on the border lost their lives. Although according to latest report that I see, 32 people managed to survive, and they are receiving now all the necessary medical assistance. This morning, I shared on my Telegram this news that an emergency ministry's plane evacuated 9 Russian citizens, including a child, injured in yesterday's Aktau plane crash. So these Russian citizens were evacuated to Moscow. And so, yes, rumors are circulating now that plane was shut down. Although, yet again, this is rumors, and it is better to, of course, wait for investigation to know better. Meanwhile, by the way, when it comes to terrorist activity of the Kyiv regime, we have this report from TASS news agency that in just in last 10 days, assets of the Kyiv regime's so-called secret services conducted more than 40 terrorist attacks inside Russia, with their arson attacks, explosions, and so on. Many participants in these terrorist activities were detained. Although I'm afraid the Kyiv regime will continue this wave of terror attacks on Russia. Maybe finally Russian leadership will make decision to designate Kyiv regime as a terrorist organization, and action will be taken to neutralize this organization by all means necessary, because that's what they are, isn't it? Terrorists. Kyiv regime is a terrorist organization. Zelensky is a terrorist. All his associates, everybody that takes orders from Zelensky or his regime are terrorists and should be treated as terrorists and should be designated as terrorists, right? Meanwhile, yet another strong warning from Moscow. This time from Lavrov, Foreign Minister of Russian Federation. So Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has warned Kyiv against committing terrorist acts on Russian soil in an interview with the program. And by the way, they're all saying, right, Russian high-ranking officials, all of them are saying that this is terrorist attacks on Russia conducted by Kyiv regime. So designate Kyiv regime as a terrorist organization, and Russian law enforcement agencies, Russian secret services will have a legal means to take whatever actions are necessary to neutralize terrorists, because of course approaches are different. If you are fighting legit troops of the enemy, if you are fighting combatants, that's a Geneva Convention, right? That's one approach. But if you are fighting terrorists, that's a whole different approach, right? And if Russian high-ranking officials are themselves saying that Kyiv regime is conducting terrorist attacks, then why this regime have not been designated as a terrorist organization until now? Why? Just because someone in the Kremlin wants Zelensky or anybody else from those terrorists to have enough legality to sign up some papers? Who cares, man? Who cares, right? We all understand that Kyiv regime is an asset of the West, right? So if ever there will be any negotiations, these negotiations will be between Moscow and Washington, Moscow and London, potentially some other Western capitals, but not between Moscow and Kyiv, because there is nothing to negotiate with these terrorists in Kyiv, right? They are not the decision makers. Decision makers are in Washington and London. I don't know, man. I struggle to understand many policies that we are seeing, including attitude towards Kyiv regime. Lavrov is a foreign minister, right? High-ranking official. He is saying that Kyiv regime is conducting terrorist attacks and there will be retaliation for that. So if you are acknowledging that they are acting as a terrorist and conducting terrorist attacks, designate, for God's sake, all of them as a terrorists and allow Russian armed forces, Russian security services to take all the necessary steps to neutralize those terrorists. Give them legal basis to act in full capabilities. Because right now, one hand is tied on back for Russian troops and Russian secret services, right? They are forced to operate with one hand being tied back. And this is not normal. This is just not normal, right? But anyways, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has warned Kyiv against committing terrorist acts on Russian soil. In an interview with the program 60 Minutes aired on Russia TV channel on Wednesday, Lavrov condemned ongoing drone strikes committed by Kyiv regime, deliberately striking purely civilian targets. He also called it an outrageous and a direct violation of all anti-terrorism conventions. Lavrov warned that any further such actions would trigger increasingly decisive response from Russia. Okay. RT meanwhile is also reporting that official representative of Russian Foreign Ministry, Maria Zakharova, yet again spoke about threat risk that Kyiv regime will transform into a nuclear armed regime. As you know, dear friends, I said many times before, right, that in my reading of the big picture, next phase of escalation that Western ruling class is planning against Russia is to transform Kyiv regime into a nuclear armed regime, right? Ground has been prepared for that, media-wise or otherwise, and as only way that I see Moscow can deter or avoid such development is to deter Western ruling class with some strong actions. And because we did not see really strong actions from Moscow that will deter Western ruling class, therefore I'm unfortunately I think there is an immensely high risk that in next 3 to 5 months time, maybe even sooner than that, Western ruling class will go ahead with this next phase of escalation and will transform Kyiv regime into a nuclear armed regime, which means that at any day now, today, tomorrow, in several weeks time or in several months time, Kyiv regime may declare that they have nuclear weapons now, and they will use it if Russia will not do this or that and so on. And Western ruling class, Western so-called elites will say, as they are saying now, that you know what, it's a Kyiv regime, it's nothing to do with us, like they are saying in regards to this long-range missile and drone strikes, that it's not us, it's Kyiv regime. Although everybody understands that the flight path and targeting data for these drones and missiles are provided by NATO militaries, right? So if Russia don't want if Russian leadership don't want this next phase escalation to happen, statements only are not enough. Some strong actions need to be taken, and I guess Russian leadership understands in which direction things are moving, because why would otherwise many high-ranking Russian officials, not just Maria Zakharova, but many others, including President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, why would they spoke about this topic of transformation of Kyiv regime into a nuclear armed regime? And all of them spoke about it, right? Russian president just a couple of weeks ago, I believe, stated that Russia will never allow Kyiv regime to become a nuclear, right? But it will become nuclear if Western ruling class is not deterred. And strikes on Kyiv-controlled territory, on military and logistical targets or whatever, of course, not going to deter nobody. in the West, right? Anyways, let's go through this news, dear friends. Ukraine lacks the capability to develop nuclear weapons on its own and could only obtain them with the help from the West. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova has said. Speaking at the press briefing on Wednesday, Zakharova addressed statements by Western officials and media outlets about Kiev having a nuclear deterrent. The Kiev regime can't create nuclear weapons in a few weeks or on its own. This is a fact, Zakharova said, adding that the only way for Ukraine to achieve this would be to receive important components from their outside, from other states. Ukraine should sort out their heating season rather than seek nuclear weapons, the foreign ministry spokeswoman added. Well, okay, statements don't really do much, but okay. Yet another statement. Okay, but yet again, dear friends, I struggle to understand. There are many things, maybe because I'm just too stupid or something, But as far as I understand, the Russian leadership is realizing that there is a high risk that Western will transform Kiev regime into a nuclear armed regime. And Zakharova is correct. Kiev regime on its own cannot build the nuclear bombs, right? Dirty bombs, or call it whatever you want. They neither, even though Kiev regime has enough radioactive materials, they need detonators. And nuclear weapons have specific detonators that are also radioactive materials, right? Extremely unstable, that will trigger that chain reaction, right? While detonating. And the only way Kiev regime can obtain atomic bombs, even basic atomic bombs, if they will receive those detonators or triggers from the West. That's the only way, right? And West will provide Kiev regime. Maybe West already took Ukrainian radioactive materials into the West and created atomic bombs, and they will deliver now ready warheads. Or maybe Western secret services, Western specialists deliver these triggers in Kiev control territory, and they are working to build for Kiev regime these atomic bombs. Either way, it is obvious that Moscow is realizing, due to statements that we hear from Russian high-ranking officials, that there is a risk of transformation of the Kiev regime into a nuclear armed regime. Also, it is so obvious that the only way you can deter, only way to avoid such development is to deter Western ruling class. And it is also obvious that there is no way you're gonna stop Western ruling class from constant escalation just with the statements and the warnings, or by conducting some strikes on Kiev controlled territory with Oreshnik or with whatever, right? So therefore, I'm losing understanding of the situation, by the way. I mean, there are risks, what you have to do to avoid such development, and at least for now, you are only making some statements. Okay, by the way, I mean, maybe statements will help, will be enough. I don't think so, but they should know better. They know better than I do, right? Because after all, they are in charge of country, not me. I'm just a, ordinary citizen journalist that comments on the news. How should I know anything? But anyways, by the way, let's continue. TASS news agency is reporting that Russian armed forces establish control over the Novi Truda settlement in a DPR. Let's go on the map and see this settlement. So where is the Novi Truda? That's it, by the way. This is Novit Road settlement on the southern side of Pokrovsk, southern flank of Pokrovsk. So Russian troops are getting closer and closer to Pokrovsk itself, and I'm quite sure Russian DRGs already are operating in vicinity of Pokrovsk, Mirnograd agglomeration. Also, when it comes to developments on the line of contact, we have reports that Russian armed forces established full control over their Zagrizova settlement on the southern flank of Kupiansk sector. And also we have reports that Russian armed forces crossed the Zherebets river and established control over the eastern part of Ivanovka settlement. Maybe during the next 12 to 24 hours, the entire settlement will become under full Russian control, and Russian forces are further advancing in Terni settlement, which is significant parts of which already are controlled by Russian forces. From 40 to 60% of Terni are under Russian control, as far as I understand. So progress of the Russian special military operation continues, as well as progress of counter-terrorist operation in the Kursk salient area. And when it comes to Terni, by the way, I just mentioned Terni. So we have this reporter from TASS news agency that according to Russian military expert from LPR, Andrei Marochko, Russian armed forces are controlling about 40% of Terni at this moment. This news was reported early this morning. And so I guess in next, as I said, in next 12 to 24 hours, of course, progress of the Russian armed forces will be much more significant than current level. Maybe Russian troops will establish full control over the Terni also. And dear friends, I wanted to share with you this information also, that in St. Petersburg, icebreaker Nikolai Zubov was spustili na vodu. How should I say it? I don't even know, man. No, let me translate. My English is too bad, man. Especially when I want to, talk fast, share what I think, in a faster mode. Anyways, icebreaker Nikolai Zubov launched in St. Petersburg. This is a patrol vessel, by the way. So as far as I understand, this vessel will serve in the northern fleet of the Russian Navy. And it is good to know that it's not just civilian icebreakers being built, nuclear ones, to make sure that this northern sea route is operational and gaining attraction and attracting more and more companies worldwide, more and more businesses to use that northern sea route. But also Russian Navy is receiving icebreakers, maybe not the nuclear ones, but still, by the way. And this is not a nuclear icebreaker, by the way, but I'm quite sure, nevertheless, it is a capable one. So yes, interesting developments. Of course, northern sea route has immense potential. This is northern sea route, by the way. It crosses all the northern coastline of the Russian Federation. This is the shortest route from global south towards Europe, right? And so obviously more and more businesses, more and more countries are paying attention to these northern sea routes, and there are already millions of tons, by the way, of goods are transported through northern sea route. Let's continue with some other information. Kommersant newspaper. Although, by the way, before I continue, let me notice that this project is completely subscriber funded. And if you like my work, if you like my channels, or if you think we deserve to be in this field of news and political commentary, if we bring something to the table, then please consider to support this project and my work with donation through PayPal or Boosty platform, or by subscribing to my Patreon page or page on Boosty. All the links, including crypto wallet, is under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. That being said, let's go through some other news. How long is this update, man? It's already 30 minutes. Okay, at least headlines, by the way, and little commentary. So Kommersant newspaper is reporting about unrest in number of Syrian cities like Tartus, Latakia, Jabla, Homs, and others. Local Christians, Druze, Alawites are protesting against this terrorist regime that is beginning to suppress all the religious and ethnic minorities. Probably all of you see when it was a Homs or Hama, when Christmas tree was burned down by these terrorists, right? This Christmas tree stood there only a few hours, and then it was burned down. Christians, Druze people, Alawites are under increased pressure. What was expected, obviously. I mean, what else do you expect from terrorists, right? That are religious fanatics same time. And so there was demonstrations in number of settlements in Syria, especially in Tartus and Latakia areas, in Latakia province, and I guess all the predictions that Syria will end up in a civil war, large-scale civil war, is becoming true, and it's only a matter of time before Alawites, Druze, and Christians will take up arms and start defending themselves from these terrorists with weapons, right? Because that's the only way they have to save themselves. So eventually, Syria really may get, disintegrate in several parts. Latakia province, where these Tartus and Latakia cities are, may gain some independence. Northern eastern parts that are controlled by Kurds also may declare full independence, and the rest of the territory seems like will be controlled by Turkey, if local Arabs will not resist and not rebel. Although they might because after all, Syrian society historically, since the creation of Syria, is a secular society, right? And I don't think Sunni Arabs will appreciate this terrorist regime and their fanatism, religious fanatism that these terrorists are bringing with them, right? Religious fanatism and extremism, right? So even Sunni Arabs may rebel in Damascus, Homs, Hama, and other cities. As I said, by the way, in previous updates, Syria is a bite that Turkey cannot swallow, and most likely by overtaking Syria, Erdogan made a fatal mistake for Turkey, because I'm not sure Turkey will manage to avoid their total economical financial collapse and then collapse of the social fabric and the civil war. I mean, give it another 5-10 years and I think Turkey will be finished. That's it. RT, meanwhile, is reporting that Trump mocks opponents in a Christmas message. That's a quite a way to mock your opponents in a Christmas message, really. But, in the West there is a specific political culture, right? When anything goes, and so let's see what he said there. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has posted a Christmas message taking pot shots at the China, Panama, Canada, Greenland, and his domestic political opponents. The Republican, who is slated to return to the White House in January, put up the two posts on his True Social platform on Wednesday, wishing Merry Christmas to all. The first on his list were the wonderful soldiers of China who are lovingly but illegally operating the Panama Channel. US controlled the waterway between the Atlantic and Pacific from almost a century before handing it back to Panama in 1999. The local government has since contracted Chinese companies to operate it. Trump also sent season's greetings to Governor Justin Trudeau of Canada, whose citizens' taxes are far too high but would be lowered by 60% if Canada was to become a 51st state of the US. Likewise, the people of Greenland, which is needed by the United States for national security purposes and who wants the US to be there, and we will, Trump added. He has recently revived the idea of US control over the Greenland after his offer to buy the self-governed Danish island was rejected in 2019. And then, quote also, Merry Christmas to the radical left lunatics. Trump continued, accusing the Democrats of trying to obstruct the US courts and elections while going after him and other Americans. They know that their only chance of survival is getting pardons from a man who has absolutely no idea what he is doing, Trump added, referring to outgoing President Joe Biden. He also brought up the fact that Biden commuted the death sentence of 37 federal inmates to life in prison, saying they should go to hell instead. We had the greatest election in history of our country. A bright light is now shining over the US, and in 26 days we will make America great again. The president-elect concluded. Merry Christmas. Okay, man. He is a showman, right? And he does make show. That's for sure. Although I don't know if it's good stuff, man. When president is acting this way, But yet again, we have different political culture in the West. In the US, there is different political culture. Maybe this is okay for US, but I definitely don't want president of my country to act this way. To call a leader of another country governor, suggesting that that country is not really a country, right? That should be insulting to Canadians, I guess. This constant mocking of the Trudeau and Canada's statehood. When it comes to Greenland, yet again, there are many reasons why forces that are behind Trump may want to establish control over the Greenland, this huge island there. Right? Including rare earth materials, potentially sea routes, and some other stuff. But to constantly troll Denmark or Greenlandians that U.S. gonna buy them off. That's also kind of insulting, right? Should be, I guess, insulting for Danish people and the people of Greenland. When it comes to Panama Channel, yet again, I can see why US wants to take back channel, but it's a still, but and we are talking about, by the way, U.S. country whose leadership wants to constantly, lecture others, right? How to act in regards to other countries, how to act conduct policies internally, how to live and do stuff. And meanwhile, future president of U.S. In few posts is attacking quite a number of countries, right? As if it's nothing. So I don't know, man. Trump's presidency gonna be definitely wild, especially not just for the countries that he's mentioning, like Panama, Denmark, with Greenland, China, but I'm afraid that Trump's presidency will be extremely harsh for a number of other Latin American countries, not just Panama. Cuba should brace itself for all sorts of provocations under Trump's administration. And Iran, of course, by the way. At this point, I think risks that deep state in U.S. Western ruling class will provoke war with Iran is higher as ever, I guess, and will be higher even when Trump is in office. I guess only way to deter Western ruling class from escalating with Iran from provoking regional war in the Middle East is if Iran and Russia in next several weeks not just sign up for a comprehensive strategical partnership, but which might include a mutual military assistance in case of foreign attack, but also if Russia will deploy tactical nukes in Iran, if of course Tehran asks to do so, right? That may deter Western ruling class. Nothing else would, I guess. So yes, Trump's presidency gonna be some wild stuff, man, for this world. That's for sure. We already have first signs of that, isn't it? So, and then China, it's not just Iran, but China, by the way, China should get ready. Who knows? Maybe it will be Trump's presidency when the Western ruling class will provoke a military conflict between Beijing and Taipei, capital of self-governed this Chinese island, Taiwan. Anyways, let's continue, dear friends. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that Western-controlled so-called opposition in Georgia is now mobilizing its supporters to basically occupy presidential palace in Georgia and to not allow newly elected president to get to his office. They want her to keep Salome Zurabishvili, also a Western asset and the current so-called president of Georgia, to stay in presidential residency, as long as it takes, I guess. I don't know what they hope for. But unfortunately, Georgia, as I said many times before, is still on the crossroads, and it is highly likely that these criminals that are controlled by the Western secret services will provoke bloodshed in Georgia in their attempt to overthrow the government and then sacrifice Georgia under orders of their Western ruling class. The radical Georgian opposition, which does not recognize the results of October 26 parliamentary elections, has held their consultations on Wednesday to physically oppose the eviction of Salome Zurabishvili, whose mandate as a president expires on December 29th, from the presidential palace. The correspondent of the newspaper Vzglyad reports one of their opposition leaders, Nicolas Guaramir, who had previously planned, these are Sikh individuals, by the way, is Guaramir, and all of them mainly, all these so-called leaders of the opposition are Sikh. Their languages are absolutely immoral. Their actions are absolutely immoral. And so this Nicolas Guaramia told the reporters after their discussions that Zurabishvili was offered their physical support to ensure her stay in the palace after December 29th. This is coup d'etat, by the way. These people are talking about coup d'etat as if it's nothing, you know. And I find it difficult to understand why Georgian law enforcement agencies are not taking action. What the hell, man? They are waiting some bloody provocations to take place and people to die. What are they waiting for? These are criminals. They should be neutralized on the spot, right? Also, so-called colleague of this Guaramir, Anna Dolidze, also a Western asset, by the way, big time, confirmed that mobilization of supporters is being prepared to protect Zurabishvili and her residence in the city center of Tbilisi. We will stay in the palace after December 29 and declare this place the only legitimate institution of the country. She said, okay, good luck with that. Unbelievable, man. I mean, what kind of stupid people these are, you know? And that's the type of people that Western ruling classes are operating with in all the countries that they control or used to control or want to control, right? Because no decent human beings will ever cooperate with their Western ruling class, right? No decent human being will ever take any orders from those mass murderers that Western ruling class is. That's how it is, man. RT is reporting that another Baltic Sea cable mysteriously break down. The Finnish authorities are investigating outage of their undersea power cable connecting Finland and Estonia. Prime Minister Petteri Orpo has stated the operator of their Eastlink 2, which delivers electricity to Estonia via the Baltic Sea, recorded their failure on Wednesday, according to Power Exchange Nord Pool. Their authorities are on standby over Christmas and are investigating the matter. Orpo wrote on X, adding that the power supply in Finland has not been affected. The cable's operator, Fingrid, will start inspecting the damage on Thursday morning. The company's network operations manager, Arto Pashkin, said. We are investigating several possible causes from sabotage to technical failure and nothing has been ruled out yet. He told Helsingin Sanomat on Wednesday. At least 2 vessels were sailing near the cable at the time of disruption, according to this person. So yes, yet another incident with the cable in the Baltics. Interesting. And I will end this update, dear friends, with this news that the head of Sri Lanka, or Ceylon Islander, not far away from India. Let me show you. Of course, all of you know where in Sri Lanka is. But anyways, this is, come on, man, where is India? So this is Sri Lanka, by the way, and well, authorities there want to become a BRICS member states. So President of Sri Lanka, Anura Dissanayake, in a letter to Russian President Vladimir Putin, asked him assistance for Sri Lanka to become a BRICS member states. And letters, Sri Lanka's leadership also asked for assistance other BRICS member states also. Well, I don't know about full membership of Sri Lanka in BRICS, in next several years at least, but Sri Lanka definitely can become a partner state, right? This is new feature that BRICS has after Kazan BRICS summit. So therefore, I guess first step for Sri Lanka will be to become a partner state and then to become a full member. And so, yes, great, by the way, great news. more and more countries worldwide there want to cooperate with BRICS because they understand BRICS is a foundational stone for emerging multipolar world, right? And they want to be part of this emerging world, and they want to be on the right side of history. That's how it is. So relatively long update, dear friends, but hopefully you will find it informative, interesting, useful, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything, or maybe we will manage to influence algorithm in a positive way, and maybe this video will be shown in recommendations. Who knows? So if you can, please leave some commentary, click that like button, share information about this video or my channels with your friends in real life or on internet. And finally, if you like my work, if you want to support, you can do it. All the links are on this video in this description box and in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a wonderful day and take care.